listeners, and welcome to episode 52, which we are actually going to record tonight. We were going to record it last night, but there was a technical issue.
Dan fell asleep.
In as much as I fell asleep on the sofa. So, I'm not asleep right now. So, tonight, as ever, we will go on to the hobby desk. Some hobby has been done, which is cool. So there's some stuff to talk about there. Then into the galaxy of war. Don't know what we're going to talk about there. Into the mortal realms, where I'm sure we'll cover off some. What's come out in the mortal realms? Ooh, big space lizards. So big space lizards to talk about. Into the community, which is our usual chance to chat about what awesome stuff we've seen out and about, and say thank you all to you all. And then into the wilds of Middle Earth, which is kind of a crossover now between Into the Wilds and Middle Earth. So we tend to just talk about
all of it,
whatever we fancy, and usually there's some Lord of the Rings in there. Oh, and good evening, by the way, Ben.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Yeah, and you, dude. Cool. So, without further ado,
That's right.
We shall go on to the hobby desk.
Hey, hi guys, it's Ben, and we're on the hobby desk.
Did you just try and steal my intro?
I did not try and steal your intro.
I think you did.
I could never adequately replicate your intro. I don't think.
No, I hope you're not waiting for me to say, yeah, you could, because no, you're absolutely right.
So we actually have done a surprising amount of hobby, really.
We have indeed.
It's, I think, one of the benefits of recording monthly, I suppose. But yeah, so we are moving on to a monthly recording for the foreseeable future. I hope you don't mind. We might fill the gap in the middle with something else, but we're not sure yet. Just because at the moment, the pressures of everything is just getting a bit too much, and editing it, which is the difficult bit, takes too long to do it every other week.
We still love you all just as much. You're just going to have to wait. Sorry.
So, on the hobby desk, what do you want to go first? Because yours is quite an achievement. I think yours is an achievement.
Yeah. So basically, I've been reverse psychologied into actually completing something. Quite mega. So, those of you that listened to episode 51, will have heard me say I was I don't know if I had just started them. I can't remember. But anyway, I think I'd just started them. 46 Chaos Cultists in one batch. And Ben pointed out that I'm not a great fan of batch painting, or not. It's not that I'm a great fan of it. I'm very unsuccessful at it. So I tend to start, and then it all goes a bit wrong. So my last attempt was Blood Reavers. And the only thing that I did on the whole batch was undercoat them. With the spray can, and then it went down. The batch went from it dropped by about 70% in size, and then before I got to the end, that halved. What was left halved. So yeah, that didn't go so well. But no, I've done it. I painted 46 Chaos Cultists, all finished. So they've gone with the other 34. So I've got 80 cultists now, which looks surprisingly tiny.
It doesn't look much, does it? When you put them all out the table, I was like, that's not 80. Surely that's not 80.
It doesn't look like a lot at all, no. But I did have a moment in the middle there. So essentially what I did is I undercoated them all with the main colour, which was Steel Legion Drab. And then I went and blocked in a lot of the other colours. So when I got to blocking in the skin, which I actually blocked in with Grey Seer, because then I went back and used the contrast paints later, that stage I was a bit like, oh, no. I don't like this. But once I'd got past that, and then I did something, once I put all the washes on, I did all the basing. I didn't add the snow and the tufts, but I dry brushed all the bases up because it was kind of like a nice step to make them look like they were coming together. And sometimes it's a bit of a, well, excuse the term, a bit of a ball ache to get to the end and then have to go and do the base of all these models. So I did all the bases, and then I just went back through highlighting. And actually, you kind of forget how quick the project then goes once you've got the base coats and the washes on, because it really is it's like a slog getting all the base coats on, and then you get the wash on, you wait for it to dry. But once you start highlighting, because actually out of those 46, with the exception of the metal, there were some that didn't have any of certain colours on, so they didn't need any extra highlights. And, and simple things like only highlighting, because I'm painting it for an army, I was only highlighting sort of, well, for want of a better term, exterior surfaces. So like if you sat the model down on a table, I would only highlight where you would actually see when it was sat on the table. So like if he had a gun, I wasn't going in on the legs and stuff particularly, because there's no point, because unless you pick the miniature up and are looking at it, why bother? And it's cultists, it's just mass. And overall, I'm really happy with them. They look cool. I got some of the Apocalypse movement trays because I hate moving them. I absolutely hate. I have played games where I've just left them there, even though I shouldn't, which says everything about my approach to tactical gameplay. And I'm like, I just can't be bothered to move them, so they're staying there because I just can't do it. So yeah, I've got the movement trays for them. I quite like those movement trays. They feel like they're quite expensive for what they are, but I haven't really compared them particularly with other things.
It's a difficult thing to compare to, though, isn't it? Because I was having when you told me the price, I thought, that's what was it? They're basically £1 per tray, aren't they? Essentially.
Well, a bit more than that, really. They're nearly £1.50 a tray.
But a lot of the other ones are solid colour, so either MDF or plastic or resin or something. There's not many out there that are see-through, and I think when you had them on the table and the movement trays were see-through, I thought that there was I liked that a lot more than I do with the MDF ones or whatever.
Yeah, and I think the key thing for me, because originally I was going to paint the trays to match in with the army, but I chose not to because they are see-through. And I will be able to use them. Not that I have a plethora of other armies that aren't based on snow, because I'm obsessed. But I decided to leave them. And it is my intention at the moment, even though these are... they're just over £2 a tray for the 32mm ones.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get some of them for the demons, because, again, I just don't want to be moving them all around.
No, it was quite nice to see you, as soon as you finished your cultist, just whip out your demons.
Well, yeah, so...
and then it wasn't just the bloodletter, you had the bloodthirst.
Oh, yeah, I got totally
and you were like,
away.
And all these other ones are the same colour, so out come the Fleshhounds and Karanak and like everything that remotely had red on it was suddenly in this massive batch of demons.
I know. Well, the thing is, while I was working on the cultist, I was getting very, very excited about Warcry. And my intention was to work on the terrain straight after. But when the cultists were coming to the end, I was looking at them and I was like, I was so pleased with the impact on my overall collection to go, boom, because in that one batch, I took my outstanding 40k Chaos collection and if you were to break it down by how many individual miniatures I have left, yes, some of them are bigger than others, that was just such a huge chunk. Because unlike yourself, and we've discussed it loads of times, I've got rid of a lot of stuff over the years. So I still have a lot of models left to paint. Don't get me wrong, I could merrily go for a year without buying a single thing, no problem. But I don't have quite the same amount as you. So, there is a real possibility that if I can break the back of some of these larger chunks, I can be within spitting distance of getting the models I own for those armies painted and get to that real special place that probably hasn't been in existence since the first day I walked into a Games Workshop ever, where I can go in and pick something off the shelf for my army, and it's the thing I'm about to work on because I haven't got stuff at home to do.
I know the areas of my collection which give me stress when it comes to bulk. I mean, a lot of my stuff that I have, it's just stuff that I refuse to throw away. Like I've got a whole box of Dark Eldar because my best mate in high school just gave them to me before he moved back to Canada. Will I ever paint them? I'm not sure. I might paint like the old Incubi because I really like them.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly paint a couple of squads because I eventually want to have painted all of the starters kits, as we've discussed. And there's a couple of other like bulk ones, like the earlier starters kits. So I think it's 4th edition fantasy with all the goblins and elves in. That's a lot of work, and that'll take me a long time. But I really want to do it. And the 2nd edition 40k box, which I've never fully painted, and it is a definite ambition of mine to do that. I will probably want to kill something or myself, or stab myself at least in the head once with a file, cleaning up 40 Gretchen,
Yeah.
You know,
Yes,
and
you
drilling
will.
the barrels in their auto guns. But the thing that really does affect I think you could almost call it my mental health with regards to the hobby, is my massive Space Wolf collection. Because when I look at those orcs and when I look at my Eldar, all the other little bits I have, I can either choose to do them or not, in a sense. They're there if I want to do them. But the Space Wolves have always been something that I wanted to do. And I cannot just sort of rush them. I can't speed paint a Space Wolf. I can't do it. There's some pathological part of my mindset that won't let me do it. And I've got about 150 of them to paint. And if I broke the back of that Space Wolf collection, I'd be a very happy man.
Oh, you got to crack on.
I know.
It's lucky that a big box hasn't just been announced that's going to have more in them for you, isn't it? Your face. So yeah, just to round out the bit on what I've been doing. So now I am painting 30 Bloodletters, Skulltaker, a Bloodmaster, 5 Fleshhounds, Karanak, and a Bloodthirster in my next batch. So I've pretty much finished all the airbrushing, which is mostly the skin. So I'm going to try a little bit of dry brushing on the Bloodletters themselves.
I'll try for a wetter brush.
No, I've done it before, mainly on so they've got some like raised
knobbly
bits
on their shoulders. Yeah.
So I'll just do a dry brush on there. But I painted all their swords in the dark metal yesterday, just because I don't know what I was doing. I was faffing around, and I thought I'll quickly do that. But I'm going to go in and block in a load of the colours now. I've started on the bases. The only thing with these is I need to...
What colours?
What?
Surely there's bone, a bit of metal, and red.
Yeah, mostly. Black. There's black, bone, gold, silver.
Sounds like you're overcomplicating what is essentially a ginormous, great big red banana with horns.
Yeah, that's very true. Bananas in pyjamas would have a totally different take on it if one of them come bursting out, wouldn't it? Like,
did you see that Toy Story meme?
I don't know.
With Woody. What's the name of the little boy in Toy Story who owns Woody and all that lot?
I don't know.
I've forgotten. Anyway, the meme is there's a picture of Woody looking terrified, and it's let's just call him Alan, and it's just something like Woody was a bit concerned about the new toys that Alan had brought home from the shops, and it's a Death Guard army. That's so
brilliant.
Funny.
No, I hadn't seen that.
It's really funny.
So that is good. So you've mostly been constructing things.
I have, yeah. So I don't know why. I suppose it's because it was easier to get something out and build it when we moved than to get all my paints out and start painting. But I kind of thought, I've got all this stuff. I've got so much stuff that needs constructing that I need to just sort of have at least built. So I have some kind of handle on how much I need to do. That I just kind of sat down and started doing it. So the list is ridiculous. In fact, I might even just get out all of the stuff that all of the construction manuals. So the Sisters of Battle box set, that's finished constructing. Aeronautica, the box set, did that one. Really loved those. They were fantastic.
I saw, I meant to send you a link actually. Battle Foam do an insert for the actual box.
Yeah.
For the contents of the box.
I don't think that I'm going to get much more than. I don't think. I'm not sure. Maybe like another wing of Thunderbolt fighters or something. I don't think I'm going to get excessive with Aeronautica.
No, at this stage, I'm actually thinking of treating it a bit more like a game collection. So, looking at getting the next box set, which is the guard and the Tau, and the book that goes with that, and then the next box set, and just get the box sets.
Yeah, unless the aircraft that they release separately are super exciting.
Yeah. The only problem with Battle Foam is the postage is just stupid. And I know, like, I work for postage, but it's just silly. I think the foam itself was £12, but by the time you put VAT and postage on, it was £21.
All right. Well, yeah, okay. So Aeronautica. Canoness of Viridian got put together. The Red Gobbo. Sister Superior Amalia Novena. The Hospitaller. Ripper Snarlfangs. A pair of Carastus Knights. The 2 new Black Library models. And then, because of those, I went and got the Sisters of Silence and Custodies out of my Burning of Prospero set, put them together. So the Valerian, which is a flower, as it turns out. Didn't know that. Analea, put those together. Actually, much happier with him in person than I was from the photographs. He looks a lot better in person, the model. Still think the head's a bit odd.
Isn't Valerian? Isn't there a film or a comic book series like The World of 1,000 Planets or something like that? I'm gonna look that up.
No idea. Then I moved on to my Space Wolves. So I've put together the second half of my Reaver box, and I've got all 10 Reavers constructed. And then the whole of Shadow Spear, which I'll talk about separately. And then my Aggressors. Oh, and Gotrek Gurnison. So I've put together a fair bit. And it's been really good fun. Really good fun, actually. I've got some green stuff out and been green stuffing for the first time in a long time, which I'm not that great with green stuff. And I know a few tips and tricks. I can do the old pouch, bit of fur on a Space Wolf. But I thought I'd try something different because in the Shadow Spear box set, I wanted to convert the characters to look more Space Wolfy. So I got the head that you gave me from the screaming, shouty guy with the spear.
Aspiring, exalted champion with impaling spear.
Yeah, him. The helmetless version has got loads of flowing hair, and actually, if you cut the little chaos symbols out of his beard, he looks really good as like a Space Wolf. And then that was quite fun because I had to sculpt like individual sort of hair.
Yeah,
bits,
I saw that. Yeah,
to sort of fill the gaps. So that was actually quite challenging. And added a cord around his neck, did a few little bits like that. And I was really, really happy with how he came out. And then I did the captain, which was more of a kit bash because I did things like cut the bionic eye off of the original captain head and put it onto a Space Wolf head. which was really fiddly, and there was a lot of swearing, but it worked, and I'm really happy with the outcome of that. The only thing I suppose I'm not happy with is I didn't want to have him pointing. I wanted to make him a little bit more aggressive, so I gave him like an axe, and I'm a bit concerned maybe the axe closed his body off a little bit too much. But I think what I'll do is when I come to paint him, I'll make the axe like a feature. You know, so it's actually worth being there. So, like a bit more like Logan Grimnar style axe, where the axe is quite, you know, striking and different. So I'll do that with him. And then finally, the chappie who has the medical kit in the Phobos armour, I was sat thinking when I was putting together, and I thought, well, the Space Wolves are different when it comes to this kind of stuff. They don't have apothecaries and chaplains. They're both the same thing. And so I figured what I would do is make him like a trainee wolf priest. So someone who's been marked out in the early stages of training in his service to sort of to start walking that path. So I gave him a wolf helm, and that took a couple of goes. I knew it was going to be challenging, and I copied Darren Nathan's Orruk the Slayer helmet, or not copied. I used that as inspiration, but with that helmet, it's quite a lot forward. It's quite drawn out, and that wouldn't have fitted on the Reaver. So I tried to shorten it a bit, and it ended up, I think, one of the comments was bang on. It looked more like an ape skull than it did, or a dragon skull than it did a space wolf, a wolf skull. So then I thought, well, let's look at more simplistic helmets and try and copy those. So I went to the Deathsworn is it the Deathsworn? Basically the Cult of Morkai models from 30k for Space Wolves, and looked at their more simplified helmets and went with that kind of style, and I'm really happy with the outcome now. But then, because I was getting so cross with it, I ended up Google searching for Space Wolf skull helmets and found that Zinj Industries, which I've always been a fan of, I think their stuff is really good, had 5 Space Wolf skull helms for £2.50, and I thought, well, that's insane. The problem is with a lot of these companies is the pictures are often really poor. And I was looking at them and they were grainy, and I was like, oh, I don't know, are they any good? They look all right. So, but then for £2.50, I thought I'd give it a punt. So I ordered 20 because it was a tenner, and I'm really happy with them. Actually, you know, at this stage, I'm wishing I hadn't done my Reavers, and I could put wolf skulls on my Reavers. But I'm almost tempted to get another box of Reavers to do a box of wolf skull Reavers.
Yeah, well, I still think my idea that you should just use them on the basis of the Chaos models from Shadowspear is a much better idea. But they will look ace. They will look ace, to be fair.
My problem is that I still see wolf skulls as very much a thing for wolf priests.
Yeah.
But I've got 2 conversions to do that I haven't got the models for yet, which is the Chaplain Primaris and the Apothecary Primaris. Unfortunately, I'm probably going to have to buy 2 of each, if you know what I mean.
Oh, what a shame!
So I can add the Chaplain bits on the Apothecary and the Apothecary bits on the Chaplain to make 2 different wolf priests, and then I'll give them both skull helms. Then, with maybe a bit of like extra tweaking done on them, but yeah, that would be my plan. So that's what I've been up to.
When are you going to paint something then? What have you got?
Well, I've got in my head, I don't know whether I'm going to put together the Chaos side of Shadowspear, but I certainly wanted to do put together the Nighthaunt that I've got ready to go, and the Stormcast that I've got ready to go, and clean up the 5th edition goblins from Fantasy.
I found.
Oh, and my Battle Sister squad. And once I've done that, I think then I'm going to start hitting it hard. because that's actually what I'd like to get done this year, realistically. I know it's a lot, and we're already 3 months in, but if I can, if I can break the back of... what I'll do is, absolutely dedicated now to writing the plan that I did 2 years ago, where I had it all mapped out on Google, what I was going to do every week, and I stuck to it, and I got to the end of the year, and I'd done like nearly 350 models or something ridiculous. And I'd like to do that again, because last year was nowhere near as productive.
No, but then you had to stop right at the end, like about 3 months from the end, didn't you?
Yeah.
I did find a good way to get, if you do decide to build the stuff from Shadowspear, a good way to get the Venom Crawler done really fast. You have to take it and put it in a box and send it to me. Because I want a third one. And that will sort it out real fast. I promise.
I've been looking at a fast way to do the chaos stuff, and also just a few of the other things as well, like maybe my 40k orcs, which I'm now going to have Ghazghkull Thraka because it comes in the box set with Ragnar. Yeah. No reason I can't. No way I can avoid that, really.
No, there isn't. There absolutely is not.
I've heard rumours about people selling the broken down bits on eBay, but I just think that's lies and
it's
fake news.
It's just hideous darkness,
misinformation,
spreading of misinformation.
Anyway, so I've been looking around at two styles of painting that I'm really interested in. So Grimdark, and reductive painting. So I saw a couple of things about this a little while ago, and I actually tried reductive painting on my Blood Warriors, and they came out really quickly. So I was thinking of trying something very similar for all of my 40k Chaos and other armies as well, because and in some ways actually my Nighthawk are painted in a reductive style. So effectively what I mean by that is you start with a very bright colour, and then you don't ever highlight. You wash back continuously and shade back into the darkness. And occasionally you pick out some areas with different colours. So in the case of my Nighthawk, they were all base coated with black and then zenithed up with grey to white, and then the washes and glazes down on the cloaks, but also picked out the metal and a few other bits and painted them slightly, with the same washes all at the same time. It's a really fast way of painting, and if you use washes and inks that you can remove using some medium or another, either isopropyl or mineral spirits like white spirits for an oil paints, that kind of stuff, you can actually do it really quickly. And I've been looking around at a lot of that kind of stuff to find a faster way of doing it, and actually realised that a lot of the AK products that I have, a lot of people are using to do that kind of stuff with. Mm-hmm. So that was quite exciting, actually, because I feel like I've opened a whole door into an area of the hobby that I've not really looked at or tried. I've sort of half tried by accident, but never really tried. For example, with my Blood Warriors, that they were painted in gold, dry brushed up, and then all of the red was done by successive washes and glazes. And then the only thing that I picked out and did differently was the skin. The metal was done before I started doing the washes and glazes, so I was really happy with how quickly they came out. I mean, I did the whole squad in less than a week, if maybe even less than that. And that included the ones from the original box set, and the shadow, the Underworlds box. Got something Reavers.
Garrick's Reavers.
Not Garrick's Reavers. The other one with the flesh hound.
Magor's Fiends?
Magor's Fiends, yeah. See, it's just so many names, man. I can't remember them all. No. You seem to be able to recall them instantly, which is why we make a good team. It's excellent. I just sort of say that thing and you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm even awake.
So I'm actually, and I'm actually really excited about doing that kind of stuff. And with the Black Legion, with the Chaos, I was actually I was really thinking about doing the Grimdark Blunt Jitsu kind of style on them. So keeping the colour palette really minimal, keeping them very muted and drab and dark and dingy and horrible. Because I think even Black Legion with their shiny gold bits would look grim as hell.
Oh, yeah.
And it means that what I want to do as an army is to do them as Black Legion so that I can unify all my chaos under one force and not have to fanny around with working out various different colour schemes. So I was going to do things like the Death Guard, starting with something like Nurgle Flesh or Nurgling Green, or Death Guard Green, and then wash them back so much that it looks black. So there's still a kind of hint of green in there. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just sort of spitballing, but that was the plan.
Cool. Good stuff.
Resource for that I found that I'm very quite impressed with, who's done sort of some basic videos on Grimdark painting in inverted commas. It's called the Grimdark Compendium. He's got a website with loads of tutorials on, and he's just started a free series of kind of the basics of how he does stuff, and picked up a few things from there that I'm quite keen on trying. So if you haven't had a look at that, it's worth popping onto YouTube and having a watch, because it's an interesting way of going about things. And if nothing else, it's exactly how I'm always going to do the rest of my scenery ever.
Well, that's good to know.
Well, 40k scenery at least. So there we go. That's been my hobby desk for the last month.
Exciting. Well, we've got another month now, so hopefully I might finish all these demons. And,
Well,
go. What were you going to say?
I was going to say one thing I absolutely definitely want to go before we next finish is to finish those bloody hard boys that I started before Christmas. All I have to do is the metal and leather on that, and I'm done. But I made a big mistake. I based them to go to Warhammer World, and now in my head they're finished.
Yes, that is unwise. Right, shall we make our way into the Galaxy of War?
Oh.
Welcome, listeners, to the grim darkness of, well, 2020, the way things are going at the moment, but we'll skip over that and look forward to a darker future? Maybe. Right, anyway, back to wargaming. So, Mr. Hall, I believe a miniature has been gone on to pre-order that you may be somewhat excited about.
Well, Ghazghkull Thraka?
Yeah. No, Makari.
Oh,
His grot friend.
dude, they released Ragnar Blackmane.
Yeah, they did! Look at that smile.
I'm so excited.
Happy?
Yes, absolutely happy. Yeah. Wonderful. I think Darren Latham and Jess have done such a fantastic job with it. It's everything I hoped for. It's so dynamic. This is so much motion and so much power and presence in him, and his face is just—it looks exactly like Ragnar Blackmane.
Yeah,
as soon as you see
it's brilliant.
I love how they do that. When you just look at his face and it's like that could be no one. If you just had the face and said, "Who's this?" instantly, without the hair, without the model, it's Ragnar Blackmane. I don't know whether he comes with a pistol for his alternative sort of pistol for his left hand. In the kit, interested to see that. But otherwise, I'm probably going to get 3, and I'm not really over exaggerating that either. So, I'll probably get 1 to do up in sort of gaming standard.
I'm looking forward to this, by the way. I'm looking forward to this explanation.
And I'll probably get 1 to harvest bits out of to do a conversion with Crom Dragon Gaze to make a sort of power armor version, because the idea of my Space Wolf army is it's Ragnar's company through the ages. So I've got a Beric Thunderfist conversion done, and I've got I want Ragnar in power armor, and then I have Ragnar as a Primaris, so that I can do. And I've got his, because I kind of thought, well, he wouldn't have that many Wolfguard, but then I'm like, yeah, of course he will, because they'll be from different times in his sort of company's life.
Absolutely.
So I'm going for Ragnar's company through the ages. That was always the kind of background for it. But and then the third one, I'm gonna labour and paint as best as I possibly can and keep it as like a display piece. Probably do them in like a nice scenic base or something.
That's actually a very reasonable explanation of needing 3.
I know, right?
Yeah,
I thought so. So the the first one will be the one I get in the box set will be done to just go in the army. So I can get them all the time. I've already got a Ragnar Primaris conversion, but it pales.
It's interesting you say that, because I mean, I still think yours is very nice.
Yeah, I suppose I'm happy with it because it took me a long time. There's some things I'm really gutted I didn't do. Like I chose to base him on the free Primaris model that you get for painting in the shops. So I could have chosen a much more dynamic set of legs and body to base him on, and I think he would have looked a lot better. But I didn't have enough Primaris to do that with at the time.
No.
So I'm a bit disappointed that I made that decision. But it's done now, and there's loads about it. I learnt loads. I enjoyed doing it. And I'm still very happy with it. But it's not the new one.
It is lovely, isn't it? So that's coming along with Saga of the Beast, which I
called that. I said it was going to be a box set about 4
Well,
months.
yeah, you did, yeah. What's the box set called? It's like Prophecy of the Wolf or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's quite interesting.
Well,
but
the whole
Saga
thing
of
was
the Beast
based on a prophecy.
Book.
So the whole kind of situation came about because the rune priest of the chapter kept having this repeated vision of a beast being sort of bared down by a black-maned wolf.
Well, that's that story, isn't it?
Yeah. Which I love that. So the way the Grimnar's like, we better find Ragnar.
We better find out where the Blackmane is.
Out there doing something, just cracking on with life. But I said this to you the other day when we were talking about it, is that one of the things I always get across from the Space Wolves, and I don't think it is limited to the Space Wolves, but it somehow seems to come across more from them, is how spread out the chapter is at any given time. They cover like a massive, massive area. Yeah. And I wonder if it's maybe a little bit more associated with the first founding and second founding chapters. There's really ancient chapters that cover such, a massive area of space and have made promises to look after hundreds of systems. Whereas like more modern chapters are kind of told, this is your system and you will defend this system, and this is your kind of life's ambition, like the spears of the Emperor and the lions and the scorpions. They were you'll remember the name of this, the Astartes,
Adeptus
Valari. Their job was to defend the Valari system, that region of space. And I'm sure there's plenty of other chapters whose job it is to maybe even just defend a planet from continuous attack of something, such as Cadia or whatever. Although the Cadia never had a Space Marine chapter, which I always found interesting. Not that I was aware of anyway, but I always find with the Space Wolves, it gives
that worked out well for them, didn't it?
See, with Space Wolves, you feel like they're spread out over such massive distances all the time.
So Ghazghkull then.
Yeah.
He's lovely.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. And the trouble with Ghazghkull, though, is it casts my mind back to when they did the Armageddon worldwide campaign. And I was thinking today, now I want the Steel Legion army and all that stuff, because I just remember the battle report on the massive table where they had the Steel Legion, the Salamanders, and the Blood Angels fighting like a massive orc horde.
Yeah.
And then loads of other battles going on around it. And I think he looks superb. I've had a look at his rules, and he sounds pretty nails. Although weirdly, and this may have been intentional, or it may get FAQ'd, or I might be missing something, which is possible because I don't play loads of 40k. But because he's got more than 10 wounds, he's not protected from the character rule thing.
Yeah.
So
they've wound capped him at 4 wounds per phase.
Yeah. But I still think... Well, I'll be interested, maybe not. I'll be interested to see how he survives to get into combat in a game which is so replete with guns, and he's not super fast.
No.
But I suppose he can teleport in, so...
Yeah, I mean...
That's pretty cool.
I think he will... I think you'd struggle to kill him in one turn. I think I'd be very surprised.
Well, you can't, can you?
But how many wounds has he got?
12.
You could.
Well, I thought you just said he can only take 4 wounds per phase.
Yeah.
Oh, in a phase. Oh, right, yeah, of course.
So you could do 4 wounds of shooting, 4 wounds of psychic attack, and then nail him with 4 wounds in hand-to-hand combat. But you'd be really pushing that.
You would, yeah. Yeah, that would.
I'm sure it's 4 wounds
epic.
a phase.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I'm going to agree that you are right, because to be honest, it's quicker than just looking it up.
I mean, I can't see anyone pulling that off. Mind.
No.
But I mean, I like that because he's meant to be the toughest orc in the galaxy, and he is the toughest orc on the table now, without any shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. So other than Ghazghkull, you're supposed to be the filler when I'm looking these things up.
No, I'm gonna let the silence lie, so everyone knows how distractible you are.
I'm not distractible, Ben. I'm trying to find the appropriate content while you just go blah 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 blah. I almost know what I'm talking about. And all I can find is a picture of Rogel Dawn surrounded by toilet rolls.
Well, he's prepared for the siege.
Oh my goodness. Father, you are asking whether or not these rolls of parchment serve a function in fortifying the Imperial Palace? Toilet paper does not constitute a functional replacement for adamantine panels, Father. Perturabo already attempted this. He failed. No, I have acquired a great quantity of these sanitary products in case Mortarian's latest need should disable all commerce in the segmentum. In that case, we shall be sufficiently stockpiled for a total of 3 days. Oh, I love it. Right, anyway, that's not helped find anything to do with Ghazghkull. So Ghazghkull's hard as nails. Let's just go with that.
Yeah. The box set's quite nice little content as well, actually. I think if they put it, as they have done before, at about £100, you get quite a lot for your money there.
Yeah, there's lots in there, isn't there? You get a whole squad of the... What are they called? Infiltratey dudes.
Yeah, but that's actually the multi-part kit, so you can make them as one of 2 different sorts of unit. But there's the Phobos armor Marines. And then I think you get 5 knobs and 5 knobs in Mega armor as well. Yeah. Ghazghkull could easily be a £50 model.
It's huge.
Easily. So, and Ragnar was £22 minimum, 25 quid more likely. So, 75 quid's worth of characters off the bat.
It's a shame I'm going to have to buy this Saga of the Beast with a Space Wolf on the front. Ugh. How disgusting. Oh well. I've got to get it. So, more importantly though, the next one, Engine War, they've done the first story for.
Yeah. I haven't read it yet.
Which is exciting. No, I've not read that one yet. But I like that it's called Engine War.
What's it going to be about?
Presumably it's where we're going to see... Well, it's Mechanicum, so I think a lot of the stuff we've seen for Mechanicus is likely to be involved with it, because we've seen like all the horsemen and the flying dudes and the flyer and all sorts of gubbins that hasn't actually come out yet.
I'd almost forgotten about them.
Yeah, no, me too. So that's quite exciting that's on the way. have you seen that the Escher have decided to take bow and arrows into the Underhive?
I love it.
I do.
Love it. So
it reminds me of Rambo.
It does. I mean, there's been so many releases this last couple of weeks. It's almost impossible to remember them all. But yeah, there's been a big Necromunda drop. Kind of most of, I think, if not all of the previews for the next book, which will be the Escher book, have come out in it. And the Escher book is going to be called The House of Blades, quite fittingly. So in that, you've got some really weird-looking ladies called the Death Maidens, which have been returned to life through vile science, which is a bit chaos. But they don't.
It is a bit weird, isn't it?
They don't look particularly happy to be alive. Quite blue skinned, but then you've got these hunters who are just phenomenal. So like ones with whips, and then the bow and arrow ones, and the bow and arrows have got poisoned bows by the look of it because their arrows have got green tips. And then alongside those you've got the cat-like things, the Felinix.
Yeah, they are a bit strange looking. I'm not sure about them, but
I like them. I like them because they are strange looking. That's exactly the reason why I like them.
Yeah.
Because I think things in 40k should look a bit odd. So yeah, they're quite exciting. They've also released alongside it a few other like odd things, like the guy, the chef.
Yeah, well, that's a slopper. That's a thing out of the campaigns.
Yes, the halfling slopper, which is quite cool.
Yeah.
And was there something else in that release? I think there was. Give me a second to.
Yeah, there was the we also got to see a Cawdor model.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
With a heavy stubber. He's like a Ratus tater skin.
Yeah.
Nice. It's a bit odd. I don't know. Maybe I suppose it's good that they're just grabbing the excitement when it comes. I just find it a bit odd that they're bringing out new models, such as this guy, when we don't have, like, the Stig Shambler yet from one of the books that's been out a little while now.
That's, yeah. I guess. Yeah, I don't really have an answer to that.
But we are getting an Enforcer with a Techno Dog.
I absolutely love that model. She's a headhunter, really. She's a inquisitory kind of investigator, and I love the fact that she's got a light. I know that might sound really weird, like of a thing to love, but she just looks like she's sort of snooping around and having a look for stuff, and I kind of love the idea of there being like investigators crawling their way through the Underhive looking for things and trying to maintain law and order in as best as the way as possible, but clearly failing miserably. But no,
it's made me want to do because I've got a box of them, the Enforcers, and it's made me want to get a box of the Shield ones, and then get her because
and do a precinct.
Yeah.
I've been looking at my Bastion kit that I've kind of assembled and thinking I might get a new Bastion kit and a couple of bits of the new scenery and make a proper like precinct with
that would be great,
like a chain link fence, and I could do my whole life of hobby on Necromunda and never.
Oh yeah, but that's true of a lot of the games at the moment. It's crazy. Talking of which, have you seen? Well, you must have seen the Knights Cerastus, the new Knights for Titanicus.
Yep, along with a new book to go with them coming out, the Defensive Riser. So, I absolutely love the twin-linked Gatling thingy that the castigators, aren't they? The Acheron and castigators. I just love that style of knights. They've got a kind of almost stalking appearance to them, like more regal. They stride through the battle, like just sort of picking on things in a kind of, while the other knights deal with the riffraff.
Tom's got one in 40k.
Has he?
The one with the assault cannon and the shield.
Yeah.
The rapid fire gun and the shield. Yeah, he's got one of those. And they look at ace. But yeah, those knights look good. And like you say, Riser. So that's another book to be bought to go on the shelf.
Yeah. I picked up the last one and got really, really excited because it had, and I didn't realise this, and of course it's not really, the full contents of a book aren't really announced, but it had House Orlok in it, which is my night house, so I was really, really happy with that. But very frustratingly, they've put, and I've just grabbed, because, let's grab those over. A chap on Instagram called Christian got in contact with me and said, I've got a spare a Storm transfer sheet, and if you want to buy it off of me, which I did, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to do that. He gave it to me at cost, so absolute superstar. And on that sheet, it says that the associated night house is House Terran for Legio Astorum, so that kind of, wish they'd have told me that earlier. But I can, what I've decided is I quite like the idea of having a couple of different night houses anyway.
Yes.
Because I figured that would happen. So I've got those to use now, my Storms. Of course, now I've got a whole sheet of Storm transfers. I need to find models to put them on.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. That's not going to be the problem, is it?
Well, maybe.
You haven't got one of those. What are those new Titans called? You haven't got one of them yet?
Warmongers. No, I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to find room this year to do a couple of Titans, but I'll certainly do them at some point next year and do them as a batch, like I did the last lot.
You certainly knocked them out with them, didn't you?
Well, I think, when you sat down with an airbrush and you got it all set up, you can do all the panels at once and all the dry brushing at once and all of the and it made it a lot easier. And I was really, really surprised. Really surprised how long a Warlord took. It was not a short project, really. No. But yeah.
Cool.
Have we missed anything for 40k?
Probably. But those are the things that excite me most.
Yeah.
Right now. So, I think, to be honest, I'm more excited about what's in the Mortal Realms. So, I think we shall head into the land of pointy elves.
Oh, Elves of Ragnar. Which is more exciting? I don't know if I can realistically make that decision without having an existential crisis.
No. Well, while you have your existential crisis, I think that the listeners probably by about now should grab some caffeine-based refreshment to get through the next section. And I may well do the same. So, with that in mind, we shall see you in the Mortal Realms.
And welcome to the Mortal Realms, everyone, where we're going to talk about elves. Lots of different sorts of elves. And a few lizards.
Pointy elves!
Pointy elves.
Elves with bows!
Yeah, elves with bows. And a kind of wizard.
A wizard.
Floaty wizard.
You're a wizard, Harry.
So, the exciting
Get off that rock.
Release of the...
Well, it's not really a release yet, is it?
An announcement, preview pictures of the Lumineth Realm Lords is out. And I have to say, not as excited about this round as the last one.
I am.
You are.
Yeah.
I think the bowmen weren't quite as good as the spearmen. I really thought the spearmen was superb. It's hard to make bowmen look, especially regimental bowmen. You know.
I think because I had such a bow-focused army for fantasy battles, that to see elven bowmen again, I was like, oh. And they are. I do laugh. I do love this, by the way. I'm sarcastic about it out of love, but I like the idea that, you know, in the mortal realm, in the Warhammer world, we had bows with 1 string. But the Mortal Realms is Uber, so we've got to have bows with 3 strings in the Mortal Realms, because the Mortal Realms, and everything is taken to the max.
Only at the
3 bow strings.
It's an interesting bow design. I'd be quite key. I know a few bow makers. I almost messaged them and said, "Could you make one and see whether it would work?" Because it's quite.
What I really want though is the 2 crossed over. I don't think we'll see it, but if you had spearmen with bows, because then they would be just like LOTR and Seaguard, and I could just get loads of them and complain at Dan for having too many bowmen and then outbow him.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think conceptually having those 3 bow strings at the top is to provide the same amount or a power through the whole flexion. So when a longbow is drawn, the power is at the end of the draw. And it gets slower as it comes out. Don't you dare reach for a book. I will drive up to Bristol and slap you. But I have thought about this, and that's what I think it is about. So when you use like a modern bow, the way it's designed is that it produces power all the way through the output, because of the way the pulley system works. But having those 3 slightly shorter things at the top, I think is a theoretical way of providing power all the way through the release. So they should be more powerful bows.
I think what it will do is give them -1 rend, I expect.
Yeah, in the rules. Yeah. A lot of people have said that they're all the same pillows and they're a bit confused by that, but I actually think that's really cool because I think what they are supposed to be is regimented bowmen, calmly going about their business.
I initially felt that way. Not that I loved all the poses, but yes, they are the regimented bowmen, as opposed to something like Shadow Warriors, who are like a skirmish formation of bowmen who would be in different poses.
Yeah.
Or the Namati Reavers, who again are a more skirmishy, quick moving. These are like, we are going to shoot you dead.
Yeah.
That's dead.
So I'm expecting them to have quite a long range to go with that kind of, because you don't want to be moving them around the battlefield too much.
No. There's a floaty mage.
Yes, and it has one of the design features that I wasn't particularly all that fond of on Teclis. We've recreated it on the mage, which is the big horny helmets, like really massive. Not really sure about them, but to be honest, it's an easy thing to sort out if you don't like.
It's also very practical if caught out in the rain, because they can put all their raincoats and just hang them up to dry off on them, like a big drying rack.
Yeah.
Very useful for that.
What I do like is that he or she...
Do you know why it's like that? You know why they're big horns like that?
No.
Well, it's because it all comes from the half moon thing for the goddess Lilith.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
Just bringing some of my background knowledge in there.
I quite like the fact that he's just quietly sat there minding his own business.
Yeah.
It's
very slan mage kind of thing going on.
He doesn't really need to get excited about things.
No.
Which is kind of, I think, the idea that they're going through with the Lumineth Realm Lords is that they're very calm about the way they execute warfare. They very calmly get on with it. No excitement. Very much like the Swords Masters of Hoeth and the Phoenix Guard. You know, like, who are the epitome of elven military units in Warhammer World.
Isn't the idea that a lot of their emotion is siphoned off into the Realm Stone?
Yeah. And they embrace that.
Yeah.
So, they're becoming more and more kind of perfect as they would see it, or refined, less noise clutter. They're very zen-like. They're getting rid of the unwanted emotion so that, they end up with what they do want, which is logic. Vulcan, almost. In fact, I hadn't thought about that. They're effectively Age of Sigmar Vulcans with bows.
Well, there we go.
So whenever you get some of those Vulcan executioners from when Spock gets found again, they find him and they take him to the... Is it that one, or where he has to go back to meet his wife? And there's the Vulcan executioners there, like the big, massive Vulcans with the huge scythe things.
Yeah.
I think that's the episode where is it the Kulnami, where they get like massively aggressively want to mate, and they will travel the length of the galaxy to do it.
The Ponfar.
Ponfar, that's it, yeah. And then he ends up fighting Kirk. And then the executioners are there with their big, massive blades. Yeah, just have a couple of those for Lumineth Realm Lords. That's the one thing when we are missing. Swordsmasters. That'd be awesome.
I would like to see Swordmasters.
Or martial arts masters. Not necessarily swords masters, but be quite cool to have maybe Naginata sort of weapons, so half-bladed spears, or... Because they were really cool models in the Warcry band, the Realm of Light ones, with the kind of martial arts poses. That it describes them as having learnt in the cities of the Realm of Light. The Tzeentchen guys.
Yeah, they were cool.
So it'd be quite cool to see those kind of martial arts schools reflected into some specialist units, because that's the kind of thing we're missing at the moment, haven't we? Got a couple of nice... Mind you, we don't know how filthy those spearmen are. They could be like the equivalent of an orc brute for all we know.
Yeah. They could be Spartans.
Yeah. In fact, they look like Spartans, so why not?
They do, yeah, so why not?
Well, we're on the subject of elves, of course. There's the Warcry warband for Marcus to get excited about.
Oh, they are superb.
They're lovely, aren't they?
They
really nice.
Yeah, absolutely love them. And, of course, the Warcry warband for the Orruks. We've got a new Brute warband.
Oh, yeah, I'd forgotten about. They're nice as well, aren't they?
They're really, really nice. I love the Brute models anyway, but yeah, to have another kind of sort of purpose-sculpted unit to add into an army, that would be great. So I think I enjoyed the Nurgle ones too, actually. They're the kind of nice little collection of models as well.
Yeah. What do you make of the new Seraphon terrain piece?
Really like it.
It's big.
Yeah, I really, really like it.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think it's one of those pieces of terrain. When you look at some of the other things and you think, oh, that's really specific. Like the ogres one was really specific. All the Gloomspike gets really specific. Whereas I feel with this, you could quite happily pop that on a battlefield, and that's would look all right. It would look just like a piece of terrain if you weren't.
Yeah.
Especially alongside the like the Sigmarite Temple stuff. Would look really good. It is huge though.
Yeah, it's massive.
I haven't had a copy of the rule, the Seraphon rule, but from what I'm sort of getting from the whisperings from people who have, it's a really good army book where almost every build that there is in there is viable, which is quite cool. Because I think
is cool.
A lot of the other books, sometimes some of them are in there for almost a themed bit, and you never really think, oh, I could use that in a tournament.
No.
Whereas this one, I've had a number of people say on Twitter that they've put together like 5 or 6 army lists from the various different, builds in it, and they think they could all do well. So that's quite interesting. I mean, I see how that balances things out, because I think the Seraphon for me have always felt, even in Warhammer, like the odd one out.
Yeah.
And I still think that they do. They're very different.
Yeah. I don't know why either. I just don't know what it is. For me, they don't quite fit either. But
before, I used to put it down to the fact that they were like the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And I could accept the fact that they didn't feel like they were in the right place, because they weren't. They were from somewhere else, completely different. And I think they've tried to achieve that by saying in this one that they're in, like, is it spaceships almost? And then they come down, so that they are not from the mortal realms. They're sort of there from somewhere else.
Well, initially they were like almost demons of good that the Slann summoned into being. But I think in the new book they
talks about spawning pools again, doesn't it?
Yeah. So don't have the book, so I need to read it really to know more. I know Dan messaged me to say the Bastillodon is the most amazing thing in the game, but he didn't sort of expand on that particularly. I don't think it can suffer from rend or something is part of the reason. But yeah, they look cool. I think they'll be cool.
I don't really know how you could change it to make them feel more like aesthetically part of the mortal realms either. I think that's they must. I'm sure minds are pondering that, or not pondering that, or they're quite happy that they're different. Because I think one of the things about the mortal realms, maybe a little bit more so than 40k, is there is now so much variety in the armies that are available. There are loads now of different armies, that there is one for everybody. I would quite confidently be able to say that if somebody had an inclination to come into the Age of Sigmar, I could sit them down and find something that would catch their fancy. Because there's so many options, and it's just another different option, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
A little bit left field, a little bit out of the park.
So it's interesting you should mention that, because I have been trying and failing to put my mind to another Age of Sigmar army to do, because I just always do Khorne.
We've had this conversation so many times.
I know. But I thought we'd have it on the podcast. Just how they're just nothing's. I just like Khorne. The problem is now that there is still so much choice, even within the Khorne army, for me to carry on and do, that I want to add. But then I just keep feeling like it would be good for variety to have another army.
Well, I think you're right. You could always alternate between the new army and Khorne, and you'd still be adding stuff to your Khorne army, and you would have that variety.
But then it's which one to do, isn't it?
Do none of them catch your fancy?
Well, they all do. That's the problem. I could happily do anything. It's not the other way around. So, for example, the Luminaire, really excited by them. Really excited by the idea of another alpha. Because obviously I had High Elves. That was my main fantasy army. And I kind of got this idea that I could do them, but do more of a blue colour scheme. So, rather than having the creamy off-white colour, have the blue from my original army. I thought that would look pretty cool. But then, I think Chris would like to pick them up. And I'd love it if I know you'd like to pick them up, but it would be great if Chris picked them up and actually did an Age of Sigmar army. So I don't want to both be doing that, really. Fire Slayers keep catching my fancy.
Yeah.
Because they are just cool. But it's a lot of skin. But then again, skin's not such an issue now with contrast, is it?
Well, potentially no. Yeah, potentially not. Not if you used it right.
Caradron Overlords I love, but there's so much going on the models. I just think they take forever to paint. So anyway, yeah, there's loads. I could quite happily do any of them. Tzeentch, I love the idea of the Destiny dice for Tzeentch.
Yeah, they're a great little mechanic, actually. I enjoy
Nurgle
playing
would fit
against
really
them.
nicely alongside my Khorne. I like Slaves to Darkness, but I can't. At the moment, they could do with doing a multi-part version of the stuff that they've just done in the Start Collecting.
Why?
Well, because otherwise it's just get a bit repetitive.
Yeah, but you don't need that many of them. You can't talk to me about getting a bit repetitive when you've just painted 46 of virtually the same model.
No, they're not all the same.
And you're
Okay,
about to
at this point, I cannot defend my position. Let's move on.
You can always get one of the older Slaves to Darkness. I don't know if they still sell them, like the older Chaos Warriors.
No, they're not as good. Not really interested by Slanesh. That's good. That's on the list of not really interested, which is good.
I could paint anything that someone put in front of me. I think would be. If it was me, I would be looking at my collection and thinking, what have I got that I could sort of use as a core thing to add on to get an army.
More Khorne then.
No.
Stormcast.
You've got a Stormcast army.
I know. That's what I mean. So I could go back and jazz that up.
Yeah.
And use that as a core, and then add all the new type units to it.
Yeah.
And then just run around shouting only the faithful and pretending to throw lightning bolts.
Because you do need
to... you could get some lightning bolts made, like foam ones that I could just throw at people.
And then you miss and knock over the next table's stuff.
Models, and I'd be in a lot of trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
That probably wouldn't go down well, would it?
No, I don't think it would.
No. That's a shame.
I think Stormcast is a good one because there's a lot of variety in Stormcast. Surprised we haven't seen the new Stormcast unit in almost a year now.
Yeah, it's time to press that button.
Open a new
chamber.
Yeah. As long as it doesn't have cloaks, because they're harder to paint, and I can't paint them quickly. Less cloaks.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, less cloaks. Less cloaks. Less shoes. Get their shoes off.
No. So that's what. Yeah. So we're in. What I'm really excited about with Age of Sigmar is that they are just constantly churning out the new stuff. They've gone through the whole. There can't be many of the pre-existing army books for them left for them to do anything with now.
I don't think there are. I don't think there are any.
So the Luminous Realm Lords will kick off the next new force, and then either they're going to go back to the beginning again, or I don't know what. We were talking about this, weren't we, the other day when they released that Necromunda schedule? That I thought that was really cool. It didn't flesh details out, but it kind of, it gave you an idea of what was coming. So in your mind, you could plan for it.
Yes.
I think that would be quite cool to see things like that for Age of Sigmar and 40k. So then at least we'd have some idea of kind of what their release schedule was going to be like. Particularly,
I think,
brand new stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway.
Right. Well, anyway, that's a bit of rumination over the Mortal Realms.
Very exciting.
Very excited. Lots to think about, lots to do, lots of demons to paint. Shall we move into the community?
Yes. Yep. I was going to say, when I was thinking about what we were going to talk about in this, that it was the Lumineth Realm Lords that really got me thinking about that reductive painting style I was talking about. It was those that really got the... Because I have spoken about before how I love that piece of art where it's the elves versus the goblins, and they're all kind of bright, but they're very They're not muted, but there's very small colour palettes. So there's blue, gold, and white, but they're very subtle. The whole thing is very subtle. They're very bright, and I had been thinking about ways of doing elves where you sprayed them with white and then you worked back with washes to get the effect that I was looking for, rather than starting from a darker colour and working up. Using things like the contrast paints, that kind of stuff, to build up colour and depth. We'll see. I've got a few models to test that theory out on. Hopefully, because when it comes to Space Wars taking up like a lot of my mental baggage for painting, my elf box is bigger. It's a lot bigger.
I was just thinking that.
There's a lot to paint. Anyway, so let's move on to the community, fella.
Off we go! Hail, glorious community! Hello guys, on to the community section. Little bit of an odd one tonight. We were looking at what events, etc. to shout out, and I'm sure many are still planned, but obviously with the things that cannot have escaped your notice going on at the moment in the world, such as Adepticon being cancelled, and the likelihood of other gatherings going a similar way, it was difficult to think about exactly what to discuss, wasn't it, dude?
Yeah, it was. I'm just going through some of the local stores, and a lot of events have already been cancelled or postponed, should I say. Adepticon's a big one to close. And I should imagine I would be very surprised if Warhammer Fest doesn't get cancelled, because it will be in that kind of period of time. But as we were going to talk a little bit about sort of the impact this kind of stuff is going to have on the hobby, because a lot of these big conventions, whether it's wargaming conventions like Warhammer Fest or Adepticon, that kind of stuff, or there's the big GTs, the international events, ITC events are going to go on in mainland Europe. I should imagine they're going to get cancelled. And other events too, like Comic-Con, that a lot of companies rely on, and they will literally spend the whole year planning for these kind of things. And I suppose what we wanted to do is, we were just talking about how hard it must be for those guys, is to try and encourage people really to go online on the day that you would have gone to Adepticon or wherever, and have a look at the companies that would have been there. And look through their websites, see if there's anything that takes your fancy. Watch videos by them. Treat it almost as like a digital Adepticon, because the companies do sometimes entirely rely on these events to bring more customers in, advertise their products, and sometimes, particularly in wargaming industry, playing the game, having a demo game or seeing the miniatures can be the difference. It can be like an absolute deal breaker or deal maker. So I think it would be worth the time well spent if on the day that you were going to do one of those things, even if you weren't planning to, we make a concerted effort to go onto, like I said, the company websites for all the people that were going to attend, have a look at what was what they do. And it's not for me to say to encourage people to put their hand in their pocket, but if something takes your fancy, then support those companies, because the grim reality of this is, we may lose some of them if we don't, and that would be tragic. That would really be heartbreaking.
Yeah, definitely. So at the moment, Salute is still planned to go ahead with their latest update today. However, with it being 4 weeks away, it's possible that by then such things will be off the table, isn't it?
I think the estimated peak is 4 to 6 weeks from today, or 4 to 6 weeks from this week. In the UK, it's going to be different for wherever you are in the world, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was cancelled. They may not have a choice, to be perfectly frank. Might come from central government, putting a cap on events.
Yeah, and I think, hopefully it's not necessary to say this, but we'll put it out there anyway. It's obviously hearts and minds go out to those people who are even more affected than we are, because there's a lot of that going on. But also just be sensible and look after yourselves, guys, because it's only a game, and it ain't worth, if you've got some of the symptoms and stuff, don't struggle yourself down to the local game store because you've got to play that game. It's really not a good idea to do such a thing. Just remember, hopefully it will pass and we can all start playing games again.
If not, I don't think there's a better hobby for being quarantined in your own room.
Yes. Entire communities are turning to wargamers to know what to do.
Yeah. I think I could probably be quarantined for the best part of the next 48 months and still still have stuff left to do. Yeah.
The good news is, of course, you can still share your awesome hobby on the 2P's hobby group, and many people have.
Yeah.
And on Instagram and Twitter, etc. So, have you got some shout outs for?
I've got one particularly because two. I've got two. So the first one is I've already spoken to a lot about is the Grimdark Compendium. It's a website and it has free content and not free content, but actually the not free content isn't unreasonable. Per video, I think the cost is something around sort of £6 for a full tutorial on how to do a miniature. But a lot of content is free, and if you are a painter with any degree of imagination, you could extrapolate from one to create the other. So, for example, if you go onto the Grimdark Compendium, I was looking at the Black Legion stuff. And you would have to pay for the Abaddon tutorial, but you would be able to get the Black Legion Trooper tutorial for free, and it doesn't take a huge leap of understanding to go from one to the other, really.
No.
If you down with the techniques, so that's it's a good website. Lots and lots of content on there, and what I've been watching is the Grimdark Compendium. Sort of basics series, so he's done 3 now. The most recent one was laying down the sort of base coats and first 3 or 4 washes on a Death Guard model, which I thought looked bloody ace by the time he finished with it, to be perfectly honest. It's exactly what I'm looking for my Chaos, and there's a whole bunch of new products and techniques that I'm, and that's what I love doing. I love sort of looking at something and going, well, my style is probably more towards the Games Workshop style than it is towards the Grimdark style, but I do armies in a very Grimdark way sometimes. So I like doing things all differently. I love weathering. I love making things look gritty and realistic. So trying something new with a whole new different set of products, I'm actually finding really exciting to learning and watching that. The other one I wanted to talk about is House of Chaos Games, which we have they're close friends of mine, and we've talked about them a lot before, but they've done a couple of things, really cool things recently that I know I haven't talked about. And we sort of briefly touched on the Scruffy Looking Nerf Herders, which is their associated podcast for Star Wars Legion. And that's out on Podbean if you're interested. And it's a great little podcast on Star Wars Legion. But they ran their first event recently, and they did it at the Bodmin Gaming Club, which is sort of quasi-associated with the House of Chaos Games. And it looked absolutely fab. I couldn't go. I don't have a Star Wars Legion army to play in because I don't want to open that Pandora's box, to be honest. But the photographs that they put up, they have made a massive effort with the scenery. So there was 8080s, there was a Hoth board, there was, I know at least 2 of them were 3D printing like for weeks beforehand to get loads of terrain up. And they managed to basically put on a good sized event, with really good scenery. It just looked ace, really. And I've just spoken to at least 4 people who went to it and had an absolutely fantastic time. So it's partly to congratulate them for that, because putting on a first event is always nerve-wracking. And it was the first event for Bob and Gaming Club, and it was the first event for the scruffy-looking Nerf herders. And it's a really good stepping stone for building a community for that game in this area. So, I mean, there's now a really good, strong Legion community in this area. And I have to be honest, it's probably got a significant amount to do with the efforts that those chaps are putting in. Even if it's just 20%, I think that's ace. That's community building, and it's awesome to see. So I'm really proud of them. And I'm really excited to see, what other stuff comes out of that. The other one is that they have a YouTube channel, and Ross, who's one of the chaps who comes to painting night, routinely puts up 2 kind of videos. So, sort of painting techniques videos that he does, particularly scenery, and he's quite good. Not quite good. He's very good at making scenery out of crap, basically. He can create a board out of trash that's lying around at his workplace, and it looks ace. He's done a Hoth board, and he's done videos on all the pieces of scenery for that Hoth board for the Legion event, which is most recent stuff. But he's done videos on how he's painted and assembled all of the scenery from Conquest magazine, and he's done loads of videos on how to make Outlands, which is the game that House of Chaos Games developed. Outlands train out of a toilet roll, bit of sticky back plastic, and a paperclip or something.
Toilet roll's quite rare at the moment, though.
Yeah, you can get it on eBay for about 30 quid for a pack of 6.
Yeah.
I think everyone is well aware of my feelings about eBay scalpers. There's a special place reserved in one of the levels of Dante's Inferno for them. So I will move on from that. But yeah, so House of Chaos Games, they're on YouTube. They're on various different places. They've got a group on Facebook that's quite thriving. But particularly just wanted to point out that their YouTube stuff is very, very good. And I think they deserve a little bit more interest on that. And the other thing that Ross does videos for is battle reports, and they're good, and he's constantly trying to make them better, which is always, I think, sometimes some places can sort of rest on the laurels, or not try and listen to feedback, but Ross is always trying to make things better with those. So I think they have improved a lot, and they're going to keep getting better. So there you go. Yeah, that's my shout-outs. So not painting shout. Well, one painting shout-out and one local hobby shout-out. I've also heard rumours, talking about community, that there's going to be there's a Kickstarter being proposed for a new gaming store in Newton Abbot.
Oh, right.
To not replace Terra Games. I was very sad to see them go. But, a new store. So if you live in the Newton Abbot area, might be worth sort of scouting around to find that. And we'll put a link up. I think I'll pop a link up on our Facebook page in the show notes if people are interested for that.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Cool. Well, I mean, it always falls to me to talk about the 2P's hobby group. Nice to see people still
Still doing bits and bobs on there, so thank you for that. Quite a range of things have appeared on there recently. So one thing, though, that I did think was really cool was to see some Infinity being done.
Yeah.
So Mike, if I get this wrong, Mike Kovossi, working on some Pano miniatures. These look really cool, dude.
They're great, aren't they? Nice colour scheme, really sort of catching.
Yeah, and I like the bases as well. Really nice.
They're white and blue.
I actually really like his Tau in the background as well.
Yeah, I did notice them.
they're very nice. They're very nice, and so that's cool. And it's a game that I read the rules for once back when it first came out, so they're quite different now. I think they're on their 3rd edition now, but not something I've really explored. But the models look very cool.
I quite like Infinity because its profile is different from Games Workshop. So one of the things that really frustrates me is when companies are trying to claim that they've got a new thing, that they're a new company, new fresh models, and actually they're just copies of Games Workshop models or alternative sculpts for Games Workshop models, or in fact a game system that may as well be like a clone of Games Workshops with a couple of tweaks. But Infinity is one of those games where immediately when you see the models, they're very distinctively Infinity models. They're very different. War Machine is another one. You can't mistake it, and I really like that about Infinity.
Definitely. There's also a bit of Aeronautica, so it's nice to see that because you don't see loads of it. It's a Thunderbolt by Chris Spurgeon.
Yeah, I saw that's nice.
And he's painted at the base as well, so that's really nice. I mean, Ermin and Aranova, I need to just crack on and do my Thunderbolts. Really. I'll get them done soon. Maybe I'll do them for the competition. So that's very nice. Rich Nutter, as ever, is just been rolling out the amazing stuff. So there's a couple of Orruks. Have you seen those?
These yellow ones?
Yeah. They're lovely. And this needed particular mention, Garant has painted a Spear of the Emperor.
Yeah.
Which had to be mentioned because I've not long finished listening to the rather awesome book. If you've not listened to it...
It's hard to talk about it without giving it away, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you've not listened to it...
Or read it, Dan. Most people read books.
Or read it. No, I don't know if that's true anymore.
Well, maybe not. I might be wrong.
So...
It's a blinder.
It's really, really, really good. It's really good. So do go and listen to that. Read it. Whichever you choose. No judgment.
No judgment. On
how you choose to intake your bookness. I can't even talk. You can tell I just listen to them now. So yeah, some really cool stuff. And Chris, this is narrative Chris, Chris Goff, he has started picking up confrontation miniatures. So I said to him the other day, not content with the ridiculous amount of stuff that is currently coming out that we want to get involved in, he then writes his own games, and as if that wasn't enough, he's now buying up games that don't even exist anymore. So it's mental.
They're not cheap.
They are. No. Some cool models. I look forward to going around and playing some games at some point. To see these. Confrontation was one of those things that was like on the edge of the periphery of my sort of knowledge when it was around.
Yeah, they did a really good job of pushing, or not really good job, I think they were fundamental in pushing non-metal metallics in painting styles. So it's a great company, interesting rule set. It's a shame they went, really, I think. What I have heard is that this almost should be in the Wilds, which is why I paused then. But I've heard basically that the Cool Mini or Not Kickstarter to get it restarted is not going to go ahead. Won't get finished, which is gutting for a lot of people. But
so yeah, there's some great stuff on there. So thank you for that. So this month. And next month's competition.
Only because you took such a long time putting the post up.
Yeah. You know what you could do, rather than spending time writing messages to me?
saying do the competition. Any thoughts? Any thoughts?
No, I just thought it'd be nice for you to post something on the internet, like, occasionally.
Yeah, okay. Right, well, now we've all got bored listening to your bitching. Comrades in Arms is the title of this segment's painting competition. So anything with more than 2 models in a unit or a squadron or whatever you call it. So any scale. So somebody has asked about whether that could include Titan maniples. Hell yes, was my answer. Of course it can. Squadrons of aircraft, units of dudes, anything like you can think of. Please do.
Even say Ghazghkull Thraka and
Makari would be 2 dudes. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, yeah absolutely.
Or the
Ragnar Blackmane and his ponytail.
It's a top knot. Valerian and Alea, they would be another 2.
Yeah, they would be 2. Or 30 bloodletters.
Or 30 bloodletters.
Yeah, anything like that. So, lots of choice. Have at it.
We look forward to seeing them.
Yeah, well, we're on it, talking about community. One more shout out. Ben and I have said a number of times, we've spoken about it a few times, about deciding where you buy your miniatures, spend your money. We try and do that across a range of different places. And support the places that kind of give us what we want from our hobby. So if I need a good hobby chat, I will pop up to Games Workshop, whether it be Cribs or the Central Store, and invariably try and spend a bit of money with them. And if you play and game at your local gaming store, make sure you spend a bit of money with them. But for us, if you are looking online and looking for a really good price, you will not do any better than Simon at FSVG. He just, service-wise, absolutely fantastic. Really, really good. Great, friendly guy. Working at around 25% off. And he does it mostly driven by trying to help the community, really, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So if, he's around and about on our hobby page all the time. And also through Greetings from the Warp, is that right? Yeah, Greetings from the Warp. So if you're looking for just getting the best price you can, please just check him out. But like we say, and he will agree with this as well, really important, support the places where that give you what you need for your hobby at this time. Really important.
Yeah, your local stores will not survive if you don't put money in them. That is the bottom line.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot of work to run these things, so they don't always survive. We've seen examples of that enough over the last couple of years. So please don't be complacent.
Absolutely. Right, and with that, let's go into the wilds.
Hi guys, and welcome to the wilds. The wilds of Middle-earth. Mixture of the two. Because we're doing it every month now, we're going to just sort of throw everything into a pot and see what comes out. A few things to talk about. Do you want to start with the Middle-earth stuff, Dan, or do you want to do the other things?
Look, Crabine from Dunland.
Middle-earth it is. So yeah, we've got a few things coming out, like new things, and some old things. So Crabine, they're basically ravens or crows, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think they're crows because ravens are good animals and crows are bad.
Yeah.
If I remember right from Lord of the Rings. So the crows on trees or using trees to sort of hold them up. I think they look really good.
Yeah, I do. I think they look really good too.
Much better than sort of having them on flying bases or something like that, or those old kind of bat swarm sort of things that you used to get. I think these look. And what I quite like about it is, at first glance, they almost look like they're part of the tree.
Yes, they do. Well, you thought they were new trees.
Yeah. Which kind of fits with the idea that they are the spies of Sauron.
Yeah.
So I think that works quite well. And then effectively, they're a little extra thing to go into the Dunland stuff that we saw like not so long ago. I wonder where they're going to go next. Now they've done sort of Rohan at War and Dunland and that bit. When we've done Gondor.
I wonder if they'll go down into the east, like down into the like Haradrim and.
It's either going to be that or one of the Elven nations, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Sort of Lothlorien or something like that, or Rivendell, or maybe one that covers both.
Or dwarves.
Or dwarves, yeah.
Oh.
Or dwarves. Yeah.
I love dwarves.
No, you do. It's dwarves that go swimming.
With little hairy women.
So, we've also got Keeper of the Dungeons.
He had a model before. He's got another one now.
I don't recognise him, Dan.
Yeah,
Is he from The Hobbit?
Yeah, he's in The Hobbit. Yeah, he's from The Hobbit.
Oh, that's why. Because I've only watched The Hobbit once. Because I couldn't bring myself to buy it after the travesty was the second and third one. So, but they're on Google at the moment for £40 for all 6 extended editions. So,
are they really? Ooh.
Yeah, I might do that.
Yeah.
But I don't recognise him. But he looks horrid.
Yeah.
He looks like he could smash a face in front of that short order.
It's a very good, it's a very good likeness of the model of the when you see him in the film, you'll be like, oh yeah, it's good.
Well, one of the things that I think Lord of the Rings have always done well, Lord of the Rings miniatures, and especially when you think that nowadays lots of things are sculpted digitally, but when the Perry twins first sculpted things, they weren't sculpted digitally, and they still managed to get the faces so distinctively the characters from the films. It's quite remarkable, really. Okay, so there's him. Well, they're the 2 new things, so the Crabane and the Keeper of the Dungeons. That is a horrid looking thing. That's an evil character. A new book as well. I quite like these when they were in the original Lord of the Rings releases. So the Best of White Dwarf.
Yeah.
So almost what I suppose in some ways the General's Handbook and the
it's like the annual, like the Blood Bowl annual, really.
Yeah, and the 40k one. What was that called?
Chapter approved.
Chapter approved. Yeah, very much like that. And it's now they've brought it together in a hard book, so the Best of White Dwarf up to now. I'm really pleased they've done that, actually, because they've released an awful lot of content in the White Dwarf over the last 2 years, and I was starting to be like, where did I read that? Where did I see that?
Yeah, I think these books are really important because I don't think there's anything wrong with releasing content in White Dwarf. In fact, I love it. It makes White Dwarf interesting and exciting. But I don't want to be carrying around loads of White Dwarfs or rifling through White Dwarfs to try and work out where a rule was. Particularly when, at the moment, well, even more so than ever now, for every game system you're interested in, there is constantly content being released. Much more than you could possibly play at any one time. So, you're likely to have a game that you would term as your active game.
While the others sit on the
back burner. And it's important that, when those become your active game, it's like for me, I don't really have an active game as such at the moment because I haven't played for a while, but things like Titanicus and Aeronautica, Blood Bowl, Lord of the Rings, they're all games that I could conceivably at some point get excited about and decide, right, that's what I'm doing for a year. But it will put me off if I can't put my hands on the stuff that I need. So I'm buying all the books for them, so that I'm ready for when I do want to do them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think these things are really important. So it's great to see that, and that'll be another book on my list.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that again, that's another. What's that now? 3 that have come up.
Well, you've got the new Titanicus book, House of Blades, and this one, just into what we talked about today.
I've made a decision at this point not to get the house books for Necromunda.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like 6 more books.
4. Oh, well, yeah, it's 6 overall, yeah. 4 this year, there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, otherwise, there's a whole bunch of old stuff back on mail to order. So, made to order. We've tried to work out what they are. I said an unarmoured on a horse, which I think has got limited use.
Yeah, but it's about collecting
in the game, but it is cool for like narrative parts.
Yeah, exactly.
We think it's gambling on a horse.
Yeah,
but we're not sure. It's a cool model though. The next one I absolutely love is Legolas firing his bow from horseback, and it's probably the one I'm most likely to pick up out of these made to orders. Then there's the Uruk with the battering ram. Which, if you're ever going to do a Helm's Deep kind of scenario, is probably a worthwhile picking up. Then an Ent.
That's Quick Beam.
Yeah, now I like the plastic Ents a lot, but it always. I do think that it would be nicer if there was a few more others out there to add a bit of variety if you wanted to do an Ent army.
Yes.
Is my feeling. Otherwise you could end up getting a bit samey. So it's nice to see him out. But then one of my favourite models of all time, which is Gimli sat on Uruk with an axe on his head, which is just amazing. Great scene from the film too. And then finally to the 2 elves. 2 Lothlorien elves, the ones with swords and the ones with bows, and these bug me so much because they're such nice models, and I just desperately want to do them to get those ones with the swordsman running forward. I just love that bit from the film when the Uruk break through the wall and the swordsman charge them. And it's that moment that's being modelled there. But I just cannot justify the price to get an army of them. You know, even 6 of them and 6 archers. Even if you had 10 of them and 10 archers, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. I always, when they were out last time, it's nice to see them out again, because they've already done a made to order once with them, haven't they? I agonised over whether I was going to get them last time. I decided not to, and I think I'll probably end up deciding not to again, but they are nice models. Those swordsmen running forward are just wonderful. So that's Lord of the Rings. Otherwise, from the wider world, we've got a new game from Warlord Games, haven't we, Dan?
Yes.
That I'm surprised you're not standing on a with a tricorn and a.
Well, it's funny because I got really excited about
the Napoleonic one. Yeah,
as I often do, get really excited. But I don't know what it was in the end. But I didn't. Probably because of the backlog of other stuff I've got to do, I expect, but. It didn't. When I looked at it, it looked like the models needed a lot more work than I was expecting. And actually, there's Blood. Is it Blood and Plunder, or is that their other game? Oak and Iron, which is being made by Firelock Games, who make Blood and Plunder, and that looks a lot more like you. The models are a lot quicker to get done.
Yeah.
So,
mind you could get really bogged down with Napoleonic ships.
Yeah.
You could end up wanting to put all the rigging on and
Oh, I
flags
remember
and
part of the
and-
thing I wasn't too keen on is the rat lines were like done on like perspex, which I thought was a bit weird. But anyway, I didn't end up getting it. That's why I didn't get so excited, because I kind of think I often get very excited and then nothing comes of it. So I thought, I'll just hold on to my excitement. But I am very excited by it. It does look really, really cool.
So it's called Victory at Sea.
Victory at Sea, and the box set is Battle of Pacific, so it's U.S. Navy and Imperial Japanese Navy. But what's very cool is if you go and look around at some of the other pictures of the other things you get, the little fighter wings look really ace on little flying stands, and you could get a sea mat quite conceivably, and because of the scale of the ships as well. It will look really cool because you'll have a 6x4 tape, because in this, World War II naval warfare, literally lobbing shells miles at each other at times.
Yeah.
So it does look very good.
I think the thing I am surprised about one of the choices they've made with it, which is to model the ships on a sea base.
Yeah, so initially I was surprised. Well, I don't know if I was surprised. I think that's a good choice because it gives it some presence and it gives you somewhere to put the name of the ship as well, which you do see quite often if you go to a game show and you happen to come across that sort of game, naval warfare game. Often the models are done in such a way that they're on a little sea base and then they've got the name of the model of the ship, because actually visually everything looks so similar, especially at that scale.
Yes.
And you do need that presence to make it pop out a bit.
Yeah. I suppose it gives you a little bit of 3 dimensions around the ship as well, when the rough sea or what have you.
Of course, the key thing is that there's going to be an aircraft carrier called the USS Enterprise.
Yeah,
which would be brilliant.
It actually looks like not only does it give you a name for the ship, but it looks like the name of the ship is modelled onto the base.
Oh, does it?
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Looking at the photographs, I think I would be inclined in some of them to take the base back a little bit, so file it back so it was a little bit lower profile.
Yes, the profile is very big on that.
But yeah, so this one clearly has it modelled on the side, Megami 1939. So yeah, I reckon that they are modelled onto the side. So, but I think it looks really cool.
Yeah. So you get it's £50 for the starter set, and you get 15 ships in there, I think.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so you get 9 sort of smaller frigates or destroyers, and then some other named ones. So there's 3 United States battleships and 2. No, is it 3? It might be 3 actually. 3 Japanese ships. There's a deal on at the moment because if you pre-order it, because it's on pre-order, you get like a transport ship as well. Free little transport ship. It does come with a sea mat in there as well. I'm not sure how...
A proper mat or a vinyl mat or a paper mat?
It's a paper mat.
Okay.
It's A0, so...
Big.
Quite large, yeah. But then they also do individual ships. So similar way that they did the Trafalgar game. So you can get Bismarck, you can get Yamato or Yamato, you can get HMS Warspite. So they're gradually coming out with. They'll gradually come out with those, presumably. Those are £15. They also have the naval fleets as well, which you can get separately. So you can get the US Navy Fleet Box, which is pretty sweet. That's where you start to see your aircraft carriers.
Well, it's interesting when you that period of history, there is a finite number of that kind of stuff that especially like the period Battle of Midway kind of time. There wasn't. I think there was only 3 American aircraft carriers in service. Of course, just to get towards the end of the war, they were making 1 a month, so that's quite a lot more. But you could do the Pacific Fleet for the Americans and actually have a finite endpoint to it, or certainly collect the fleet for a specific engagement.
Yeah.
Quite nicely.
Yep.
The Battle of the Bismarck would be one hell of a game.
Yes, it would. Royal Navy Fleet. Who do you get in the Royal Navy Fleet? Let's have a look. HMS Eagle, HMS Duke of York, HMS Neptune, HMS Belfast.
You get the Hood?
No. Flights of Swordfish. Unfortunately, and I presume this is because the game is going on pre-order and therefore quite new, they don't have painted examples of all of the contents, particularly the aircraft.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
Have they done the aircraft in a symbolic scale, or have they done them to scale with the ships?
Symbolic, because if they did them to scale with the ships, they'd just be a pinhead.
I have a cat that's come to say hello. Hello, monkey.
But in a way, that's quite nice, because if you imagine you were looking down, and you were thinking about perspective, and the planes would be closer to you.
Yes, yeah, I agree. Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I enjoyed looking through the the range they've released, and it's quite nice to see that they've released so much at once. If you know what I mean, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
They've held back enough that there's a lot there. There's enough there to catch your interest, or rather give you something to get your teeth into for almost any force you wish to do. So it's cool. Yeah, really cool. So the next thing I was going to, unless you got something else to add to Victory, the next thing I wanted to talk about is the next little release from Modiphius. So there's a couple of cool little boxes that I'm quite excited about, actually. You'd have to be into the game, is into the computer game to understand why these are cited. But so the first one is the Unusual Allies, which includes some really cool characters from the actual games.
Is this
so you've got John Hancock. Yeah, Fallout. Yeah, so yeah, sorry, I didn't say that. So this is for Modiphius' Fallout game. So you've got a group called the Unusual Allies, which has got a mutant in who it's called Strong, who's from the game. You've got a chap called John Hancock, who is a ghoul. The ghouls are people who have been affected by radiation, and they're still alive, still human, and they're surviving with horrific radiation burn injuries. So they're sort of half human, and they're neglected by society. And in the game, I always felt really sorry for them, helped them where I could. There's a subgroup called feral ghouls, where they're basically just sort of zombies. But the ghouls were an interesting little dynamic in the game. I really like this guy because he dresses like a pirate. He's got like a tricorn hat and a long cloak.
That's a good reason to like someone.
Then there's the other guy in there is Nick Valentine, who is a synth, which is from the most recent one, Fallout 4, is a synthetic human. Then there's a cool set called the Vault Personnel, which I really like, because the vaults are places where people sort of they hid out during the apocalypse, and a lot of the games you start off as a vault dweller, or somebody who has either recently or in the past come out of a vault. All the vaults were effectively experiments. There was only like a handful of them where they would just did what they were supposed to, which was keep people alive. A lot of the others, they ran experiments while the company that built them were using them as like laboratories to run experiments. Very corporate kind of, very grimdark in some ways. If you imagine being stuck in a vault for generations, and the whole point of the vault was to work out what would happen if you played high frequency noise all the time, every day for 10 years, and that kind of research. That's what they were doing. they're cool because you've got like the security guards and a couple of other people in Vault uniforms, which I think is a really like a great addition to the role playing side of the Fallout games.
Yeah.
So if you were going to go into a vault, so that's pretty cool. The next one is my absolute favourite of the new sets. It's the T-51 Power Armour, which is there's 3 models in there armed with different weapons. So I think it's a flamethrower, looks like a plasma rifle, and a shish kebab, which is a powered katana, or something similar. I can't really see which one it is. But the T-51 Power Armour was like the peak of power armour technology before the end of the war, that ended up in the nuclear war. I love those models. I think they look fantastic. I love the T-51 in the game. It's a really nice looking suit of armour. So a pack of 3 of them I'm really excited about. And then the final from the model one is the Mysterious Stranger, which is a cool little thing. In the game, you can choose the Mysterious Stranger perk, and it's like a dude in a Dick Tracy kind of private investigator coat with a little kind of hat, little trilby hat, and a gun, and he will just randomly appear and help you in the game. You never get to talk to him. It's only ever in combat situations. But if you're starting to get picked on a little bit, he'll just come out, like, help you and then go away. And he's called the Mysterious Stranger, and it's called the Mysterious Stranger perk. So they've released a model of him, which I think is wicked. Because, especially when you're playing the role-playing side of it, as the DM, it would be a very useful mechanism to get your players out of a dodgy situation that they've gotten themselves into, for example. And then finally, the last thing that they've released is a GM screen and a Games Master screen and a kind of a GM booklet for playing the role playing side of the miniatures game. So I think it's a cracking little release from Devious. And as always, we spoke about this last time, their resin models I'm super impressed with. I'm not massively impressed with the plastic ones in the box set, but I can get over that because the resin ones really are very, very nice. The problem is with the resin ones being very, very nice and me becoming increasingly obsessed with Star Trek is that they have a Star Trek range that I've been eyeing up for the last 3 days as well. Yeah. So, yes, that might happen. Just so I can paint a red coat and like kill him off in the first. So yeah, that's I can't think of anything else that I've seen from the wild side of the miniature gaming that's caught my fancy over the last couple of weeks. But 2 good releases from 2 great companies, though.
Very much so.
I mean, it's always worth saying, as we've recently said that Star Wars Legion is churning out models now. If you're into Star Wars and you haven't heard of Star Wars Legion and you're into wargaming, where have you been?
Yeah.
Because they're there. They're there. Oh, one last thing that we didn't shout out that I meant to shout out in the community, Dan, is that Duncan Rhodes has set up his painting channel.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And he's Star Wars Legion. Just trying to my memory for that. He's just done a painting guide on that for the Stormtroopers, which is very good.
Oh, that's cool.
So if you like Duncan Rhodes' style of doing videos, then he's got his new channel, and he's doing all sorts of stuff on there that will be very useful, whatever game system you're playing. So worth a look. It's very clean and very well produced.
Cool. Sounds good.
Does that draw episode 52 to a close?
I think it does.
So as ever, guys, we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
At the 2P's podcast.
At the 2P's podcast. And come and say hi. Have a chat about anything. I was talking about chocolate fudge in a pot
That did look
on
good.
Twitter the other day.
And as ever, thank you very, very, very much to our Patreons, particularly as we've been intermittent of late. But we are definitely back to every 4 weeks now. So thank you for that.
We were thinking about organising a Patreon get-together event, but then the virus happened.
The world's lost it a bit.
But in the future, that's something we would definitely like to do. I know that might be hard for people; they're all over the world. But that's all, folks, and we will see you in a month.
Yes. Thanks, guys. Bye bye.